So if I go back to my original example here, um, see how these numbers are all centered in their columns? I think I'm going to do that. And see these have some of these borders are heavy, some of them are light on the inside, so we're going to take care of that over here on the data table that we're building. So for starters, for any of these cells that the data isn't centered, I'm just highlighting this block of numbers, and I'm just going to click this button and it'll center them horizontally. So that's just a little tidier, more tidy. Now I'm going to highlight the whole table, and this button I'm going to click on all borders. So there, we've got borders. So Excel, by the way, these things over here, these are known as grid lines. They don't show up on a printout, and these are borders. So borders do show up on a printout. I'm going to highlight the whole thing again, because on the outside border, I want a heavy border. So for that, I'm going to right click, go to Format Cells. There we go. And I'm going to click on the Border tab, and I'm just going to select a heavier weight line. And just click on these outside lines there. It went all the way around. I think that should do what I want it to do. So yeah, we've got a heavy border around the whole table. Now again, the IB wants you to separate process data from raw data, and they want you to do that clearly. So this is almost a table within the table. So I just highlighted all of the raw data. I'm going to right click and go to Format Cells again, and I want that heavy border on the top and on the side of that block as well. So, okay, so there we go. And then same thing here from the process data. So that block of process data has got the heavy border around it. So I'm just going to click on that cell, Format Cells, give me the heavy border on the top, click OK, and I think we're good. And that's a tidy data table. Now, to print this thing, like Excel spreadsheets are huge. Look how huge this is. I'm just scrolling. It's massive. So it's this massive sheet. So we're going to highlight our whole table and go to File. And down here, I'm going to set Print Area. And so what you're doing, you're telling Excel, when I say print, this is what I want you to print. Sorry. So just that part of this massive spreadsheet. So I now have a print area set up. So, and I can see by this dotted line, I think that it's not going to fit on a single page, which I might help with a little bit later on. Yeah, if I go to print setup, maybe I'll look at it right now. No. I think I'll just have to refresh my memory on that and come back to you on another on one of the later casts here, and we'll tidy that up. Good. So the data table is essentially put together. We now need to make a graph. And what are we graphing? All these numbers, what are we actually graphing? X-axis, y-axis. So remember, our independent variable, the one thing that we manipulated, the independent variable, was the surface area to volume ratio. So I want surface area to volume ratio on my x-axis, and the thing that responded to that, the dependent variable, was the percentage of volume diffused. Okay, mean percentage volume diffused. Okay, and you can see we got a good result, by the way. So the high surface area to volume ratio had a high percent volume diffused. And the low surface area to volume ratio, the big cube, had a low percent volume diffused. So we got a really solid result here. Just have to show it on a graph, and it'll be plain as day. Now, I'm going to build the graph from a separate table. If I go back to the example, you might have been looking at this gobbledygook over here. And so this is my data table. And what I did is I made this little side table that I'm never going to print, I'm never going to show anybody, but this is where I've summarized my data. I'm going to build the graph from this table. So these are my 3 surface area to volume ratios that I used, 6, 3, and 2. And then these 90, 60, 51, those are my dependent variable values, mean, percentage, volume diffused. And then my standard deviations. Okay? So all you do there, oops, wrong one. All you do there is, see a mistake in our data table, but all you do there is create a separate table. So 6, enter 3, enter 2. Those are my surface area to volume ratios. And I'm going to say equals this cell, G, yeah, that works, and equals this cell, and equals this cell. Okay, now the reason I did that, I could have just typed 60, 90, 51, but if I say equals that cell, if I do any crunching, if I change these values over here, they will automatically change over here, which is good. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing. Equals this, enter, equals that standard deviation, enter, and equals this standard deviation, enter. And we can build our graph from this little side table. I want to clean one thing up because we are allowed to have 2 decimal places on our standard deviations, this number and this number. So I'm just going to change this 0 to 1, and I'm going to change in this standard deviation calculation, we were rounding to 0 decimal places. That was my mistake. We can have 1 decimal place there. Again, we're looking for 2 significant figures, and so that means we're allowed a decimal place. I just have to run away for a second, so I'm going to end this cast right here, and we'll build the data or the graph from this little mini table on the next one.